Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today my Get Creeping on Halloween December 2023 project. Simply meant to be. Of course it had to be the Nightmare Before Christmas. We all knew it was going to happen, right? I will explain that hashtag later, but to start, I have die cut all of my Ta-Da Diorama pieces out from Lawn Fawn's Ta-Da Diorama die set, and then using that new heart window add-on. I like the size of it. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be, if that makes sense. But to start my main card panel, the background piece here, I did cut this piece bigger than I needed it, so I have not actually die cut it out yet with the Ta-Da Diorama piece and or my inset. I think it's my stitched rectangle stack that matches size-wise is what I actually end up cutting it out with. But I knew it was bigger than I needed. This just makes it easier for me to ink blend. It gives me a little bit of real estate to hold on to without worrying about getting inky fingers on it. And being that it's smaller than an A2 size card anyways, you know, I don't have to worry about making sure I have enough space. I am ink blending on some Oohoo marker paper. I like it for ink blending, not so much for markering. It is what it is. So I'm bringing in that die, and then I will die cut that out off camera, of course, and then I will add some plain water splatter, and then I also brought in that black soot Distress Oxide ink again, smooshed it on my mat, added a little bit of water, and then I'm going to splatter that on the background as well. I really just wanted to add a little bit of interest to that background. This is really going to be almost the only color on the whole card. It's very monochromatic. I love it. It was chef's kiss. Just turned out amazing. So I just wanted to make sure that that was going to look good on my front piece. I also need to do some ink blending on my die cut pieces. So I'm using a hodgepodge of dies from Lawn Fawn. This one is that spooky forest backdrop, I think, for my little graves. I am using the spooky fence border die and then the spooky gate die. Now I could not find my spooky gate die. These were already cut and on my stack from Halloween makes that I did not get around to. So to kind of make them stick out, well, I wanted them to match the fence. Of course they're not going to match perfectly, but I was okay with it. I just brought in some Hickory smoke ink and inked them heavily to try to lighten them up as much as I could. I am adding a little bit of that hickory smoke onto the top of my hills so they have a little bit of color contrast. Now I'm bringing in an extra piece of the pole pieces for the Ta-Da Diorama, and I ended up getting some ink on it when I had a little mishap on my desk. But it was gray. It was the perfect color for this one, so I cut it down so I can use that as my stabilizers on my platform pop-up. If you have not watched any of my recent videos with my or not platform pop-up, with my Ta-Da Diorama, I have been adding stabilizers to the front panel and it holds it together well, and I love it. So that's what I use now to measure for that stabilizer piece. It's already scored. It's just easy and it works. So I wanted to do some actual stamping on my pull tabs here. Do I love it? I mean, I like the finished look. The fact that the pull tabs don't like nest perfectly together in the middle kind of irritates me, but I do like the look of adding it onto that and then, you know, the sentiment kind of disappearing per se. So I did need to kind of measure out where my gates were going to be, and because I want them to be on those pulls as well, and make sure that my image is going to be in the border of that heart. So that's why I laid my top piece back on here before I put everything, or when I put everything into the MISTI, to make sure that it was all going to be where it needed to be. So I'm using the stamp set Jack and Sally from Ink Road Stamps. They might not have it in stock anymore. Ink Road does things a little differently, but if you put it on your wish list, it might come back. So, and then it will always alert you to when those things come up for like a restock reorder type of thing. But that's what I had gotten. I got the whole, I think there was like 3 of them in the, for the Nightmare Before Christmas themed stamp sets. And I had put them on my wish list, and when she did, I think when she did when she did inventory, they popped back up. So as soon as those three popped back up and on there, yeah, they were in my cart, and I checked out like almost immediately because I've wanted them for a while. I'm just building. Can I just say I was crafting with Kate on a video chat. And so I was like, Kate, this is a hot mess. I was like not paying attention. I have had really bad migraines lately, and I was struggling through a migraine. Knew I needed to get creeping video done, and so this one just was a hot mess. But I liked putting it was easier to put those the bridge pieces, I guess, or those, what else do you call them? Those pieces on the front panels before I actually put it onto the card base. It was like so much easier to wiggle them in there. I think because I could manipulate them without having to, without them being on the background. It was a little bit more difficult to put the back on, or, to glue it to the back. But I kind of like that method. Of course, I forgot to undo my folds. And so I did have one pop back out later on. But I'm going to have to try it again when I don't have a migraine and I'm not on Crafty Chat and see if it works as good as I thought it worked when I was on Crafty Chat. Hi, Kate! Anyways, so I'm putting up my gates onto those flaps. I've been less worried about them getting caught on things. It was one of my fears when I first started this one, putting anything on those flaps, because I was afraid they were going to get caught. I just make sure that I have glue on all of the pieces, and that I make sure that they are laid down and glued flat before I continue onward. Putting on the front was difficult, but it's always difficult, so that was nothing new, right? Now, I did not cut my other fence piece big enough. And so I was like, well, I could go cut it again. But can I say I was being lazy? Because I was being lazy. I did not want to go and find another piece of gray cardstock that was big enough. I think I would have had to cut into a new piece of gray cardstock, and I really didn't want to cut into a new piece of 12 by 12 today. It just was what it was. So I decided to come in with a hill front on this one. So I die cut a partial piece of black out of that background panel piece that I use. I don't remember which one it is on. I know I have it on one of my videos. The back piece that's the same size as the front piece. It's from one of their stitched rectangle stacks. I don't remember if it's the big one or the little one. Yeah, I'd say I'd look it up and put it down below, but we all know that's probably not going to happen. So, anyways, I die cut that. I went in with a hilly border die. I want to say it was the slimline one. Kind of strategically placed where my hill was going to be. Die cut that out, and then I just inked the top to kind of go in the back. I needed something for, I don't know, dimension, to add another layer, I guess, in there, because I wanted to make a graveyard style scene on the front. So I'm just going to trim off my overhang pieces here, making sure to move that front panel around a little bit so I don't actually cut on my front panel or on my flaps. And then I'm going to bring in that gate piece that was not long enough. Yeah, I know. So the other ones I kind of hand dyed black with my black soot. They were white. They were pre-cut. I'm telling you, I was proud of myself for using up stuff that was on my desk. Lazy crafting at its finest, right? It gets me to use up some of those scraps. So I'm going to do it on the other side as well. It was just easier for me to flip it upside down and then put it on upside down and then clip it, so I didn't have to measure and all of those things. If you know me, I don't measure too frequently. And yes, we actually saw the sun. It has been 2 weeks. Did it drive me nuts while filming? Yes. Yes, it did. but I was happy to see the sun yesterday. So I am going to add, it was driving me nuts that front piece was floating back and forth, and so I did come in here at this point and add in those bracketed pieces before I did the inside. I wasn't putting a lot of stuff on the inside, so I wasn't worried about having to manipulate that front panel piece and get my images on the inside. I think if I was doing a fuller scene, I probably would have waited. So I kind of laid out my grave site or my graveyard here, and I was trying to, because my gates in the front, or my fence in the front, was not wide enough to cover. You know, it's kind of how things happen in my world. So I did have a black grave already die cut out. So I thought, well, that could work. And there's this Jack and Sally. I didn't use the whole thing. I just used the name Jack and Sally to add some names onto the front graves here. As you see, I'm kind of sloppily masking. I probably should have put these in the Misty and done some heat setting on them to actually get them to show up a little bit better. But you'll see what I do in just a second here. So I'm going to bring in a white gel pen. Sometimes it's easier to do it this way. I really didn't want to do embossing powder on them. I didn't do any. I had ink blended on them already, and so it was probably going to stick everywhere. And B, I didn't add any powder to them, and I couldn't re-ink them and re-stamp them because I freehanded it. So yeah, I just come in with the white gel pen, and it worked well. So once I have my Jack and Sally graves on there, I need to actually stamp and color my images. So I only picked 2 images, one from the Jack and Sally set, and one is from their icon set. I don't remember the name of it. I will list it down below because I have to go check it. I have to go find it. But I'm using markers from my Ohuhu Bullet Nib, or I guess they're the Oahu line, but it's just the 60 pack and the skin tones, but I'm pretty sure all of these are just in the 60 pack or the set of 60. So I was trying to be a little bit better on not doing so many markers and so many colors when it comes to, I don't know, but this one was just easy and I had those markers close at hand. And so I'm working on my Ohuhu color conversion chart so I can go between the Oahu and the Honolulu and kind of show what's going to work. It's a work in progress. I will be doing some videos on it in January, I think, is the hope. It is taking me forever. Like, forever. Like, I'm pretty sure I have 40 hours in already. Forever. It is what it is. So I just did some simple coloring on these. If you are interested in those colors, I have those sheets are on my blog at InkyandScrappy.com on the little side piece that says Ohuhu Marker Blends, I think. I think that's what it's called. But it's on the right-hand side. And that sheet should be on there. So if you're interested, those are the Ohuhu blends on the Oahu side. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's get talking about Get Creeping on Halloween. So, Get Creeping on Halloween is a hashtag I started last Halloween because I love making Halloween makes. It feeds my creative soul. I just feel it's kind of like Halloween in itself. You can put a mask on and do whatever you want. Not do whatever you want, but you don't have to be, I don't know, nervous, afraid, whatever. It's I'm very self-conscious about a lot of things, and Halloween was always my favorite. I think you just got to be weird and crazy, and nobody questioned it because it was Halloween. You were supposed to be weird and crazy, so it was what it was. Yeah, and that's why I started my hashtag. It really does feed my creative soul. Anyways, back to my card. So I decided I wanted to put this on an A2 size card base. And so I brought in the skulls from the Echo Part Paper Pack. If you write it on screen, you're doing better than I am. But I liked the bones because, of course, Jack is Bone Daddy. And so I just kind of thought it fit. Now, I was planning on doing that straight black and white. And then I decided maybe a pop of color would look good. So I did end up trimming off a little bit more from the skull and crossbone paper. I think about 1/4 of an inch is what I ended up cutting off there. So it's just got a nice thin orange border around the outside. And obviously I cannot cut straight. Yeah. Or measure, because that is not a very great 5.5 inches. Yeah. It's because I was trying to cut on my big cutter and I didn't clean the mess around it. Yeah, you'll have that. So I'm going to pop that onto my card base. But before I do that, I was like, I better stamp the inside because if I mess it up, I can always put my card front where my inside sentiment got goofed up. And then, you know, you get 2 chances. Yeah, 2 chances. It's all good. Now, haven't stamped with these before, and just doing a dye ink scares me to do the first one on there. So I did want to condition it a little bit, and I stamped it several times on a piece of scratch paper. And then I went for a 2nd generation stamp. I think I did use Close to My Heart's Sunset. So it's the same color as the cardstock. The ink and cardstock, colored cardstock, is from Close to My Heart. So I'm going to add in some 2-inch score tape onto the back of it and some glue, and then I will center that onto my card front here. And my Get Creeping on Halloween make for December 2023 is all complete. I love that pop of color and Jack and Sally on the inside. It's kind of a almost Valentine-y. Yeah, it could be. Anyways, I hope you can join me in the hashtag Get Creeping on Halloween. I would love to see you get your creep on too with all of your Halloween makes all through the year. I post every month on the last day of the month at midnight. Take care. Have a great one.